Hey gamers, welcome back to a different kind of video. I just got back from babysitting my brother's cats, and usually when I'm there, I try to put something on and binge or whatever to just vibe with the cats, whatever, right? And this time around, I wanted to watch Castlevania Nocturne Season 2. Now, I've watched Nocturne Season 1, and my brief opinions on the first season is that I did like the idea of it being set during the French Revolution and having this kind of class warfare almost. I thought that was just it's very generic because like, oh yeah, have all the rich people be vampires, but I thought that was fine because, all these rich people want to like live forever and have all this power, and what better way to symbolize that than have them be vampires? Sure, it's like basic and very standard, but I think that's fine. I don't think every show needs to be some subversion or avant garde masterpiece necessarily. So I had no problems with that necessarily. But the problem I had with Nocturne a lot is I thought all the dialogue was bad, as a lot of people said. Like, everyone memed the last dialogue scene where like Richter's like walking to the bad guy in that saying like, oh, I was gonna say something witty, but nah, fuck it. Like, yeah, that is stupid and terrible. Like, it had a lot of cringy, corny dialogue, and that's bad, don't get me wrong, but there's something in it that I thought on its own was interesting, but it was overall just a terrible show. It was just bad, just straight up, because it shared a lot of my issues I had with the last two seasons of the original Castlevania show. Because the villain design was not great. It just like very very off. Like, the first vampire you see that is like that turns into a snake dragon thing. Okay, whatever. And then you see these other like night creatures and all this stuff, and it's just they all look bad. And the animation style just kind of shares my same issue with the last two seasons of Castlevania, where it's just there's something off with it, and it's really to the point. I've said this a few weeks ago on Twitter. At this point, I'm only watching Castlevania Nocturne to just kind of understand what is it about this animation that is bothering me. Like, there's something about it. Like, there are fight scenes that look good, like just idea wise, and that should look cool. Like, you have Alucard's like floating sword doing cool ass shit, and it's like, okay, there's something about this that looks weird and off. I don't know what it is, and it's like, and that's the entire first season, just trying to understand like what is it about this that looks bad, but it's not awful, but it's just something really, I guess it's uncanny. There's just something weird about it, and I know that it takes a lot of effort to like board these fight scenes and animate them, and I'm sure that the people who are working on them are very talented artists. It's just there's something there that is just like just doesn't look good. I don't know how to put it. I don't know how to describe it. But you know what I'm feeling. But that's the first season. But the one aspect of the first season that I was actually interested with where it was going to lead into the second season was at the end of the first season, Maria's mom, Tara, sacrificed herself to protect her daughter. Okay, that's an interesting sacrificial moment, and it kind of is played up to the point where it's like, okay, yeah, you'll be a vampire now, but you're gonna like you know work for me basically, whatever. So it's like, okay, we're gonna see the conflict there. She's now a vampire. She's working with the antagonist. What is gonna happen with this dynamic of that, and then her daughter, and this like this? It's gonna like come to something interesting. So I watched season two. This is why I want to do the video. They do absolutely nothing with it at all, and it's so confusing. What was the point? What was the point of making Tara like a vampire? Like it meant nothing. It starts off with like, okay, yeah, she's like being exploited or like being like forced to do like the bidding of, I guess, the villain's name was like Elizabeth. Okay, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So she sends her out to like summon some dude or some vampire or whatever to talk to her. Okay, so she leaves the mansion basically, and that was it. she doesn't like wonder where she is. She is not like upset that she's basically disobeying her orders, basically not even giving a fuck. Like there was no like dynamic there, and they didn't do anything at all. It was really like they didn't want to do that, and it's like, okay, but you should do something with it that makes it seem cool or interesting, instead of just like coming off as they just literally forgot that she was supposed to be like at Elizabeth's like beck and call, basically, to do whatever, and it's like that never comes into play at all. She then like trains Maria to like summon dark creatures and then to kill her dad, and it's like, okay, this is like, where's this gonna lead? And then it's like it's hinted that she's like aiding this weird shadowy figure, which I guess they call this creature like Old Coyote. Okay, I'll give them props to say that they're at least breadcrumbing this villain a little bit better than they did with Death in the original show, because that came literally out of nowhere. But this also almost seems out of nowhere. Like, what was, did they hint at this character from the first season? I don't know, but it's a cool design. I like that this Old Coyote thing is just a shadowy figure that's just kind of grinning menacingly. But what relevance or connection does he have with Tara necessarily? Like, this connection they have just seems kind of random. Like, oh, because like uh Tara, not Tara, Maria goes to kill off her dad. Like, okay, fuck him, I'm killing him. Kills him. And then like after all is said and done, Tara like looks at the aftermath and sees a shadowy like burnt thing on the ground, and she's like happy about it. Okay, why? And then like, and I know someone may say, well, this is to like get you like hooked to see the third season, but it's just, that's not why I'm confused. It's really just like, where was this idea in Tara's mind that she wanted this to happen, or that she was interested in what's gonna happen here? Like, it just seemed out of nowhere that she was like, yeah, I just want to help Old Coyote for some reason, because it ends, season 2 ends where uh Maria's watching them like behead some dude or whatever the fuck, and as this is going on, she's like smirking and happy, and then like it pans like to Old Coyote being like right behind her. So it's implying either that she's being manipulated by him, or she's like aligning herself with him or whatever the fuck. And it's like, where did this come from? Like, did she just get this idea after becoming a vampire, just randomly? Like, oh, okay, I'm a vampire now, dude. I should get Maria to be like to kill her dad, and have her be swayed by dark magic or whatever the fuck, and then and shit's gonna happen. Like, where was this thought process like going from? And the other thing is, I kind of like lost interest in some scenes too, so maybe they explained it and I just didn't give a fuck, because this is the other issue I have with Castlevania Nocturne. The story seemed very unfocused and formulaic in the way that it's designed. Like, it would just be like plot A, plot B, plot C, and then it would just kind of like start from plot C, then like it would just kind of like cycle through each plot where the other one like leaves off, and that's fine, I guess. But it was just, I kind of didn't care. And Elizabeth was seeking Sekhmet for power and this and that. Did they even talk about that in the first season? I don't even remember if that was even a thing. It just seemed random. Like, she was like, yeah, I want Sekhmet's power now. I don't know. I didn't remember that in the first season. I just remember a lot of like, oh, we got a revolts against the French government or whatever the fuck. And it's like, okay. But now she like wants Sekhmet's power. Alright. And then when she gets Sekhmet's power, like, it had weird dialogue where like Sekhmet takes the body of Annette to talk to Elizabeth, who has Sekhmet's power, and because it's power and so whatever. And she's like, oh yeah, you're Sekhmet, I'm Sekhmet. And it's like, dude, she was a vampire before. She was never Sekhmet. Why? Like, she just stole the power of Sekhmet, didn't she? So why? Like, I don't know. It's really weird, and I hated the design because it really seemed like it leaned more on like the almost furry aspect of Sekhmet instead of like the cool fucking goddess of war aspect. I don't know. It was very weird, and it's like, it's a vampire furry, and it's like, what are we even doing? Uh, and then like And also just, and I know I was thinking about this near the end. Who the fuck is Elizabeth? Like, was she even a character in the games? I never played Rondo of Blood. I'm not gonna pretend that I did. I played the beginning of it, and that's as far as I went. I never went back to it. But I think I have one of the collections on my PlayStation, and I should play that because I had the PSP version of it, and that was good. I like the music of it, but I never went back to it. But now I want to go back to it. But because I always liked Richter. Richter had a cool design. I should go back to playing that game. But was Elizabeth even a character? I think she was. I thought she was a new character for this. But the other aspect that they just throw into this, they threw a dead vampire into the Forge Master's like machine and made this like being that the Forge Master was like, this has never been done before. It could do something really fucking weird, and they don't do anything with it, and it's not interesting. Like I just feel that all these ideas are there, and it's just it's like they stumbled into these cool ideas without even like thinking about or realizing what they were doing. Like they threw the book or the Necronomicon, whatever the fuck, into that thing. I was like, why not do something cool with that? It's an artifact, right? Why not do something cool with that? Whatever, guess not. It it was just all this stuff that was just like it just feels like just throwing stuff out, and it's the same feeling I've had with the last two seasons of the original Castlevania, where it's like it really just seems like they're just improvising the story, and that's probably the worst thing you could do in this kind of like media. So I just thought it was just bad, and the dialogue is not any better. Like I feel like they I will say maybe to a degree they probably maybe scaled down a little bit of the nonsense that the first season did because I don't think they ever do that. Oh, I was gonna do something cool, but fuck it kind of shit ever again. I don't think they ever did that. But there were a few instances that made me roll my eyes into like another dimension. So Alucard is walking with like Richter through some like official building in Paris or whatever the fuck, and they saw the Mona Lisa, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Da Vinci painted a woman he could not tame." Oh yeah, like ooh, where was it going? Okay, okay, and that was as much as I would kind of give anyone to say. Just end it there. He then goes on to say, "Yeah, I don't think it's his best." And I'm like, yeah, because this thing is a treasured work of art. Of course, you're gonna say it's not his best. Like it's just like that kind of dialogue. It's just fuck off, fuck you, and then it gets even better. The climax of the whole story where Alucard is like fighting all these other vampires. There's a scene right before he kills the vampire, and he's like, "Viva la resistance." I was like, this is the dialogue. Like, why? I probably would have been fine if Annette, Maria, or anyone else said that. It just seemed very like forced out of Alucard, and I get it's probably as a bit like a joke, like oh yeah, we got Alucard to say that, but it's just like why not just focus on what makes Alucard a cool character? It's just why have these cringy ass dialogue? I mean, again, it's like maybe not as bad as the first season, but this is just why have these random lines, and they don't really do anything interesting. And I also again I to go back to Tara, I just don't. What was the point? And there were so many instances where Maria's talking to her mom Tara, and everyone that walks in on them talking to her mom, he's like, dude, she's a vampire, get away from her, all this other stuff, and they all just get talked out of it in the most nothing way possible. Like maybe he tells them, stop, she's cool, why are you mad? And it's like, that's it, like that's all it takes, just say no, stop, okay, fine. Like it was just really I don't get the point. There really was no tension between that. Like it just the arc just seemed very like meandering in a lot of ways and contrived because it was just like okay, she needs to be there so she could learn to summon like dark creatures, but there was no insight on like any doubt that maybe she's like not really her mom or anything. They don't do anything with that kind of concept. Maybe they're saying that for the third season, but it's like just why like you have this interesting moment and it just goes nowhere. A Belmont shows up. I forgot his name. Is like Gra- Gracious. I don't fucking know. It's some old guy. That's a Belmont. He shows up and then he's like, "Oh, I've seen so many vampires before. That's not your mom." And then he doesn't kill her or do it or goes anywhere with it. Like, okay, why? It's just bizarre kind of decisions like this, and it's like again, it's all these cool ideas that get stand up on their own pretty well. That goes nowhere the whole time. I'm still thinking, but by the end of the show, I'm like, did Aerosmith even give a fuck to like what was the like why did she go out of her way? Like she could have just not turned Tara into a vampire and nothing would have changed. The only thing that would have changed would probably be like her relationship with old Coyote or whatever the fuck. Because apparently there's something there that is just fucking random. Like this is the stuff that I was thinking about on the drive home. I was like, I gotta get these thoughts out. I gotta talk about this show because it is more confusing with this direction than even the original show. Like the original show is like, okay, they killed Dracula. Obviously, already you're asking how where can you go after you kill Dracula? Like you have the best villain and you kill him off because it's very obvious to me that they just planned for 2 seasons. I don't think they planned for 3 and 4 because you watch 3 and 4 and it's just whatever. But it's like there was at least an attempt to make like Carmela interesting, but again, they made her very incompetent as a villain. Where it's like, what are we even doing here? Like, the whole plan was, oh, we're just gonna make a farm of humans. Okay, like it didn't go any further than that, and everyone hated her, and everyone was betraying each other. Like, you could argue and say that well, maybe it's to show how like unstable or unstable they really were without Dracula, like just showing how much of a linchpin Dracula was in ruling these creatures or whatever the fuck. And now that he's gone, like they're all like fighting amongst themselves. But it that also just seemed accidental. Like it's really weird. And then you have like this like other dimension stuff, which never really plays a pivotal role. Not even in Nocturne. Like you'd think it would do something in Nocturne, but no. So it was just all these weird decisions, but I feel Castlevania, the original one, kind of like got away with it because it's like, hey, we're doing only 2 seasons and that's it, whatever. But this is a brand new show, and it's already just seemed like they're going all over the place with it. Again, the villains are not interesting. Like, again, the first season's like you had an interesting concept by making like the rich assholes, and during that time period, all vampires. Like, and they don't push it further. They don't do anything else with that or made the villains interesting. Instead, they're just boring. I barely remember their names. Elizabeth, and then the other one I don't remember, like the fucking when that was killed and they like revived her through the forge machine, whatever the fuck, and then she betrays her to get Segment's power. I don't remember her name at all because she looked very weird and just did not look interesting at all. All these designs just fell off. Like I just don't know what the point of this whole thing was, and the other things I could not bear. There's one night creature that was like friends with the main cast or whatever the fuck, and every time this dude was on screen as a night creature was just singing, and the songs were not even good, and I did not like hearing them. It was just awful. I'm not a big fan of opera, but I've heard opera songs that sounded better than this. It was just like, can we just like not? Can we just cut this out? Like, who cares about this? Like, why is this such a big thing? And then there's a scene where Maria's dad was like, "Oh yeah, okay. What if I put you in the cage, but I don't lock the door?" And I'm thinking, okay, so he's gonna like try to like create a uprising of night creatures to go against the vampires, but that also goes absolutely nowhere until the end where they were just like, "Oh yeah, we can like revolt against them." Okay, like That's all it like. It was just so weird. Like all this stuff was weird, and there was no night creature that was like, no, I don't want to like fucking betray them or whatever. Like there was nothing interesting with it. And then like they uprise and all this. But what happened to all the night creatures after that? And then how are they gonna be reintegrated into the society? They're fucking night creatures. So it's really weird and like no direction. And I feel like that this is going to be an ongoing issue with this show is that each season is going to be like 8 episodes and be a clusterfuck of stories. It's just not a sustainable method of stories. Like you don't have like 5 plots in an 8 episode show. You just don't do that. So it just seems really bizarre. And these people are gonna work on a Devil May Cry anime. I have no faith that this show will be good at all. I'm very, 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 very concerned with it. Not even visually. It's just how are they gonna do the story and what time period is it gonna focus on? Like, it can't be a sequel to 5, so it has to be before that. But when? Ladies in it, so that's cool. But I just don't know. Is it going to be a clusterfuck of stories that are going to be all uninteresting, and is it going to have like lame dialogue? The only thing I will give it is I do like the choice of using Limp Bizkit's "Rollin', Rollin', Rollin'" song, whatever the fuck that song is called, because that is a choice. But man, that Castlevania Nocturne, I did not expect like, because even in the first season, go back to the show. I was not expecting the show to really make a splash or to even care. Like I really do feel like after the main show and they announced Nocturne, I don't think it's gonna have as much of fans as the original. I guess. Like I just feel like the attention of Nocturne is not gonna be as big. And I don't think it is because season 2 literally dropped, and I really did not see a lot of people even talk about it. Like, the only people I've seen talk about are people who worked on it and was like proud of a fight scene that they choreographed. And it's like, okay, like at least they're happy with the animation that they worked on. But really, I don't see a lot of people like really talking about it. I feel like the original show sort of as a movie. They wanted to be a movie, and then they were like, "Oh no, make it into a series." And then they made it into a series, and maybe that's a mistake because the first season was only 4 episodes because they cut a movie into TV episodes, and it ends on a big cliffhanger. But again, season 2 continues, and it's actually like a solid season. And then after that, it just never really did anything, and they never really recovered. Like, I wonder if there was anyone that worked on the first season, maybe the first 2, that ended up leaving, because it just seemed like a very distinct change in quality, and Nocturne just seems even a bigger steep in quality. Like, it's really weird. It's a really weird show. Like because there's aspects of it that I kind of don't want to say it's awful, but at the same time, like I also would not recommend this show unless you really would just want to experience it. Like at this point, I do want to watch the upcoming seasons, I guess, because I'm it's just I have to see how this ends because it's becoming a show where it's like it's so bad. I'm at least enjoying how bad it is. Like I'm getting that enjoyment out of it. It's not even like bad, it's boring. It's just bad, but it's like it's just why. Like the whole second season is just why. I don't like what was the point of anything? The villains are still not that interesting, and it also seemed like they just kind of forgot the whole tension between in the revolution itself. Like I barely even remember that was a thing. Like, yeah, this is during the French Revolution. Where's the French Revolution? And it just seems kind of like just decoration. Like, you just suddenly see Alucard just chilling with these soldiers. Like, or these soldiers like, yo, you're Alucard. Just, yeah, man, cool. Fight with us. Okay, I'll fight with you. Like, what is this? Like, why would Alucard even care? Like, because I think even in the original show, they kind of try to portray Alucard as like kind of this not apathetic because he's interested in just how humanity like grows as a species and this and that, but I don't think he had that much of a vested interest to like interfere with like human things. Now, of course, they said, well, because the rich are vampires, but again, they they don't do anything interesting with it. Like the most interesting aspect of it was knowing that Maria's dad was helping them, and that was its own conflict. But that was the only like window into that. And it's like, why not go further beyond? Why not go more into this like aspect where maybe there are people who are aiding the wealthy, not knowing that they're vampires or whatever. Like it just they don't go further with this idea, and it's just very like, yeah, this is like decorative, and there is like all this talk now in the modern era about this kind of stuff, so why not just throw it in there? But it has nothing interesting to say about why it's focused in that time period. And I do think that there was a degree of people that were criticizing Nocturne for that, because like, yeah, the original game did not have that, but they would argue, well, the original game didn't have much of a story, so we can't, so to adapt it we had to add more to it. But there was nothing more. Like it's still very shallow. Like again, there's nothing to Elizabeth's character. All the decisions she made just seemed kind of like, did she even care? Like probably not, honestly. So that is my initial thoughts. How would I rank or rate uh Castlevania Nocturne Season 2? Uh Probably I would say a 5 out of 10, because there was stuff in it that I did find interesting. Like I did like the idea or just the moments where Alucard would kind of reminisce about uh um Trevor Belmont and all that, like the past and this and that, like, and you would see these like reoccurring characteristics in like Richter and all that kind of stuff. I think that is interesting. I like that aspect of it. That was entertaining. It's a shame it's like really not a pivotal role in it, but whatever. But that was the only thing that was kind of like tiding me in. I was like, okay, well, I'm curious to see like just how either similar or different like this is to that, I guess. But yeah, it's just very bare enjoyment on that level. It is kind of fun bad, but it's still like I still don't think it's as offensive. Like I feel like a lot of people that will make Twitter posts saying, "Oh my god, they ruined Castlevania with this." That I think is an overreaction, because I don't think this is that offensive of a show. Like to me, it doesn't offend the source material because it's so. As long as I played it, this just seems so far removed that it's like it's really irrelevant to the game at this point. So it stands on its own in what it's setting out to do, and I think it is what it is. Uh, so I don't find it an offensive adaptation or anything. I just kind of think it's just an adaptation that goes into a whole other slew of issues I feel with these kind of adaptations, which could be a video on its own, to discuss this trend of making an anime of a video game that's not a genuine anime. Like the only genuine video game anime that exists are well, two. The original Devil May Cry anime. That was anime by Madhouse. So that's an actual like anime studio. That the animation is good. I have issues with the ending though. I they don't show the devil trigger of Dante, and it's such a dumb scene. I hated it every time I watch that anime on any rewatch. No matter how far removed I am of it, when I get to that episode, it's just you might as well just fade to black or do anything else. Just load up a video game. It's this guy that's like they recycle animation of this guy like crawling backwards away from Dante and just doing this. Just recycled on a loop, and then it just fades to red, and then that's it. It's like, why? And it's probably because the budget ran out, honestly. But it's like, why not allocate the budget for like that instead of like what they chose to do with it? I don't know. But other than that show is pretty solid. It's a fun show. It's kind of dumb, but it is a fun anime to watch. I like each episode is its own little story with demons or whatever. Like there's a episode about him racing some speed demon. Like it's cool ideas. Like this, I think this Devil May Cry anime is what I really wish these video game animes did, and they try to do these cool little things instead of like, oh, we're gonna do something crazy or whatever. But yeah, that's one video game anime adaptation that is a genuine anime that's actually enjoyable to a degree. And then the Cyberpunk anime, because that's anime by Studio Trigger, and it's still the best thing. Like, I know that they fixed Cyberpunk 2077 and it's a better game now than it was at launch and this and that, but I'm still gonna die. I'm dying on this hill of saying the only thing I was hyped about that came from Cyberpunk was that anime. It had a Franz Ferdinand song as the intro. This Fire, perfect song. Good intro animation, by the way. Like, it's cool style. The show was good from start to finish. Like, there was not a bad episode. It was so good, fantastic. And then you get this, and it's just like, this is just slop. And for Capcom to pick this studio to do the Devil May Cry anime, it's like, why? Just go to Studio Trigger at this point. It's way better studio, but I'm probably gonna watch that, to be honest, and I'll see how fucking dumb it is and how bad it is. But I will end on this. This one thing I always think about, I always remember reading during Castlevania's heyday, the anime heyday, when everyone loved it, was all these articles saying, dude, they're gonna do a Castlevania Devil May Cry anime crossover. And I was like, how would that work? And then there was like this one scene from season 3 because they dealt with other dimensions or whatever the fuck, and they showed Rebellion, the sword, whatever, and it's like, okay, is this what they're saying is the linchpin of this crossover? Like that would be dumb because they have to go through 2 fucking game companies to get this to work out. I mean, at this point, I would be curious, how would they interact? And you just know, they're gonna have this cringe ass dialogue where Dante is like, gives Alucard a gun. He's like, oh, look at this contraption. Oh wow, oh wow, this is very fast. And he says some weird shit. I guarantee he's gonna have some cringe ass dialogue like that. And he's gonna say, oh, I know all about Picasso. Dude was pretty cool or whatever the fuck. Anyways, that is it for this video. Thanks for watching. Did you watch season 2 of Castlevania Nocturne? What did you think of it? Was it good? Was it bad? Am I based in my opinion? Am I factually fucking based on this, or am I actually fucking stupid? I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I mean, it's a whatever show, but it is what it is. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.